The Dodgers lose the wildest game of the season to the Cubs. We're breaking it down. We have highlights, lowlights, what went wrong, what are big takeaways. That's coming up next on the Dodgers Nation postgame show.
It's time for Dodger baseball.
Tommy Tank strikes again, and the Dodgers lead 3-0. Gibby meets Freddie. Tommy sets on the air, the other way. Back it goes. Gone! One-of-a-kind player. One-of-a-kind season.
What is up, Dodgers Nation, and welcome to the Dodgers Nation post-game show. My name is Doug McCain, credential member of Dodgers Media. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. Thank you for joining us after the wildest game of the season, a back-and-forth affair. It looked like the Dodgers were going to get blown out. Dustin May had his worst start of the season. Tanner Scott gave up the lead late. He blows the save, and you got Noah Davis out there making his Dodgers debut in extra innings, and he throws exactly one pitch, and the Dodgers lose to the Cubs in walk-off fashion in extra innings.
Happ ground ball into right field for a base hit. Brujan rounds third, throw home, it's late, Cubs win!
Just an absolutely brutal way to lose a game that you really should have won. You should have won this game because you should have gotten better pitching. You should have gotten better execution out there, but that was not the case. It was the first time this season the Dodgers have scored double-digit runs. They scored 10 runs, and they still lose. 10 runs on 9 hits. The problem was they gave 11 runs in 17 hits, also had an error, and the bullpen just did not get it done when they needed to. Dustin May had a rough start. Dustin May goes 5 innings, gave up 7 runs on 10 hits, 5 strikeouts, 3 walks through 95 pitches. Heading into this start, Dustin May had given up 2 earned runs all season. He gave up the bottom of the first inning alone, 5 in the first 8 batters he faced. So he just did not have it, was not executing pitches, just was not looking crisp and doing what he needed to do out there for this Dodgers team to get the win. So we're going to break it down. So there's so much to talk about. So definitely drop those comments down below. Read some comments here. We've got, why didn't we have an early mound visit? That's from Mario Landaverdi. Why do Ohtani and Betts suck right now? We'll talk about how they fared tonight. But before we get into all your comments, I want to hear what you have to say, because a lot to say after this one. People talk about Max Muncy. Muncy terrible again. No way. That's from Greg Valleos over on YouTube. Alex Renteria, 3 straight breaking balls to Muncy, and he couldn't lay off of one of them. Yeah, we did see some guys that are struggling continue to struggle. We saw some guys that have been struggling that had good nights, guys like Andy Pages. But let's break down this one because there's so much to get into, and then let's hear your comments in a little bit. So first, let's do the breakdown. That's where we're going to start all the Dodgers Nation post-game shows now, so we can dive into this. And top of the first inning, it looked like the Dodgers were going to put up a big number, which they did. Only issue is the pitching wasn't as good as it's been. Let's be honest, the pitching has been good of late. Dustin May, heading into the start, has been good of late. But top of the first inning, Shohei Ohtani was safe on a fielding error by Workman. A couple batters later, Teoscar Hernandez singled to left. Ohtani advanced to second. Then a few batters later, Tommy Edman at the plate with runners on first and second, 0-1 count, and he hits his 8th home run of the season, and that put the Dodgers up 3-0 early.
It's this ball hard, deep center field, PCA back, Tommy Edman owns the Cubs!
What a call by Joe Davis. Tommy Edman sure does own the Chicago Cubs. A lot of success against the Cubbies throughout his career. And then you got to feel good about Dustin May going out there, considering how much success he's had to start this season. Heading into tonight's start, Dustin May posted a 106 ERA. 3 starts, a 106 ERA. He had given up just 2 runs all season, and then in the bottom half of that first inning, gives up the leadoff double to Happ, gives up the single to Tucker. Tucker He stole second. That puts runners on second and third. An aggressive approach by the Cubs to start this one. And then next batter, Suzuki, he doubled to left to score Happ and Tucker. And just like that 3-run lead that the Dodgers built to start the game was down to 1. Then a few batters later, he gives up a triple to Swanson on the first pitch. It was a sweeper that just did not sweep. He did not have great feel for his sweeper tonight. He was leaving in the zone out over the plate. And this talented Cubs lineup, they were teeing off and taking advantage. And a couple batters later, Crow Armstrong, PCA, 2-1 count. He doubles to left on that sweeper. Again, out over the plate, not executing the pitch. The weather, the feel, whatever it was, he just did not have the pitch that had made him successful all season long in that sweeper. And that scored Swanson to make it 4-3. So you give a triple to Swanson that scored Suzuki to tie things up at 3. Then Crow Armstrong doubles to left. That scored Swanson. And then very next batter, Amaya, 2-1 count. He singled to right. That scored PCA, and that put the Cubs up 2 just like that. So the Cubs get 5 runs on 6 hits there in the bottom of the first inning. And the Dodgers, to their credit, work their way back in this one. Very next inning, top of the second inning, Andy Pages, he steps to the plate with the bases empty. A fantastic at-bat, probably his best at-bat all season, a 2-2 count. Then he fouls off 3 straight pitches, did a really, really nice job covering that splitter down and away, and then he waits for the fastball up and in, and he absolutely crushed it.
Well, they have baseball every day in Japan, so you always had that there. This ball's crushed to left field, and Andy Pages hits it to the top of the bleachers.
Andy Pages got all of that one, and you got to give him credit. He's been dealing with a lot of adversity, some downs, but just like that, 2 home runs on the season heading into this one, now 3 home runs on the season, and he's getting closer and closer to being a league average offensive player. So we'll talk some more Andy Pages, but I don't want to just talk about the home run he hit there. I want to talk about earlier in that inning. Max Muncy, he drew a leadoff walk, and then the next batter, Kike Hernandez, he grounds into a double play. So at the very least, that should have been a game-tying home run, but Kike Hernandez, he did ground in that double play. Has not been a great start for Kike Hernandez so far this season. He's had the home runs, which is good for sure, but you need to see some better at-bats, some more consistency. He was playing second base today, what made sense with Tommy Edman in center, considering his familiarity with Wrigley Field and knowing how to play the wind. Well, so far this season, Kike, 59 plate appearances, he's hitting 130 with a 53 weighted runs created plus. So he has been 47% below league average to start the season. But still, the Dodgers, they do get a run back, 1 run on 1 hit, the Andy Pages home run. And then bottom of the second, a better inning for Dustin May. You got to give May credit. It looked like he was going to get chased early, and with a bullpen game the following day, that would have been absolutely catastrophic, but he was able to gut things out, went scoreless in the second inning, and then you jump all the way to the bottom of the 5th inning, and Dustin May, he gives up the leadoff walk to Dansby Swanson on 4 pitches. Swanson steals second. Then Horner, he singles to right. Then Horner, they caught him stealing. Their really nice job by Will Smith to make that throw. And then Crow Armstrong with a hitter's count, a 2-2 count. And Crow Armstrong, he hits a bomb. And that puts the Cubs up 7-4 at that point, extends that lead, and then that was just the end of the night for Dustin May. Ends up giving up 2 runs on 2 hits there, the home run to Crow Armstrong. You look at the pitch right there. I mean, look, how about this? It's not a sound strategy to throw 4-seam fastballs right out over the middle of the plate. Mid-90s fastballs are going to get crushed when they're center cut, when they're middle, and that's what we saw. We just saw Dodgers pitchers not locating for the most part. There were some guys that pitched well tonight. We'll get to that in a second here. But Dustin May, all in all, I mean, just not a good outing for him. Gives up the 7 runs. And you feel for him because he had gotten off to such a great start heading into the season, and this was really the best offense that he had faced in the toughest environment. We saw last season, kind of what Wrigley did to Bobby Miller and guys like that. It's not easy to pitch there. And he saw that ERA go from just over 1 heading into the start to now it's at 3.68. And it's kind of like, okay, welcome to the season. You're not seeing a ton of swing and miss from him. The strikeouts per 9 down to 7.77. His outing as a whole just was not the Dustin May that we've seen early on. And look at the fastball velocity. It wasn't down that much, but it did not have the life. He was missing pitches. And then you go to the top of the 6th inning. So with this Dodgers offense, thankfully, you are never out of it. They do not give up at-bats. They're going to compete till the final out. And top of the 6th inning, Imanaga is still out there on the mound, and Will Smith at the plate, 1-0 count, and Smitty, he hits a solo jack, and that brought the Dodgers within 2.
With 2 hands, set your feet and throw. Here's a drive off of the bat of Will Smith that's going to leave the yard, and the Dodgers draw a run closer.
So you got to feel good about that. You have Will Smith, who's been hotter than the devil's armpit to start the season. Now Smitty with 3 home runs on the year, 4 doubles, hitting .350, slugging .567, a 183 weighted runs created plus. Has been absolutely explosive with runners in scoring position, one of the best in the sport. So that's good. You're also seeing him miss time because they are definitely giving him pretty significant rest because they don't want to burn him out like we saw last season. So that gives the Dodgers another run. They get a run on a hit there in the 6th inning. And then Anthony Banda, he comes out to pitch the 6th. He gives up a leadoff single to Happ, and then he gets Tucker to foul to third. Then Suzuki, he singled to left. Happ gets to second, and then Happ was safe at third after the fielding error by Andy Pages. And then you're like, okay, great. Andy Pages, 1 step forward, 2 steps back. The defense has been up and down at times, and it looked like there he was going to cost them. Then the next play, Michael Busch, he flied to Andy Pages in left, and he kind of double clutches it, but he's able to make the strong throw to home, and they get the out.
En la sexta. Saque elevado al izquierdo. Comenzó hacia atrás. Viene hacia adelante Pages. Captura la pelota. Ahí viene el pisa y corre. Viene el tiro al home. Es quieto en el home.
So originally ruled safe. They reviewed it. They called him out. So the Dodgers, they escaped it. They get that run. It's an 8-5 game, and you feel a little less confident about a comeback. But then the Dodgers come out there in the 7th inning, and they make them pay. Good defense leads to good offense. Andy Pages at the plate, first batter, first pitch. He takes a slider up and in, and he singles to center, his second hit of the night. That gave the Dodgers a lead-off base runner, and then Shohei Ohtani, very next batter, he walks on 6 pitches. Then Mookie follows that up with a free pass drawn of his own. That gave the Dodgers the bases loaded with no outs. And then Teoscar Hernandez, he grounds into a fielder's choice to third, and then Workman, he misplays it, and they get a run. Pages comes around to score. That brings the Dodgers within 1. It makes it a 7-6 game. And then Freddie Freeman, very next batter at the plate with runners on second and third. Very first pitch, Freddie Freeman, he steps up, and he gets the go-ahead hit, the go-ahead double to put the Dodgers back on top.
Freddie Freeman down the line. It's a fair ball. Here comes Ohtani. Here comes Betts. Dodgers lead.
So that was big. You're feeling great. You feel like this is the never say die Dodgers, the team that had led Major League Baseball at comeback wins heading into this one with 9 of their 16 wins coming in comeback fashion. And then next batter, Tommy Edman, he hits a sac fly to right. Kyle Tucker makes a nice play on it, but Teoscar Hernandez was able to come around to score. That made it 9-7. Freeman advances to third. And then Will Smith, he doubles to left. That puts the Dodgers up 10-7. So the Dodgers, they get 5 runs on 3 hits, the costly error by Workman, and you're in business. And truth be told, they could have got more. Max Muncy had a runner on second, and he fouled out to the catcher. Another extremely frustrating night for Max Muncy. He thought he hit one out, but the wind and right, it kind of kept it in, had some big strikeouts, and then Teoscar, he struck out swinging too with the runner on second. So they could have got more, but 5 runs, a 10-7 lead after 7 innings. And then how about Luis Garcia? It's not going to be talked about tonight, but Luis Garcia had his best game as a Dodger. He goes out there to pitch the 7th. He strikes out Swanson, gives up the double to Horner, and then Horner gets to third on the wild pitch by Garcia. But with a runner at third, he strikes out PCA looking just really nice execution on the sweeper on the inner half. And then very next batter, Amaya, he gets him swing on a sinker up in the zone. So he works his way around the 1-out double, keeps the Dodgers in front with a 3-run lead, and then you jump to the bottom of the 8th inning. Alex Vesia on the mound, gets off to a good start, strikes out Turner swinging, and then he reached on an infield single to short. So if you look at this play, Alex Vesia kind of gets in the way of Max Muncy and Mookie Betts. And at that point, if you're going to field that ball, where's it going to go anyway? It definitely is a bad decision. You definitely don't want to see pitchers. You appreciate the effort there, but I think in those plays, you want to let the infielders do their job and see if they can make a play. And even if they had gotten the opportunity, it wasn't going to be an easy play to begin with, but that gave the Cubs a 1-out base runner, and then Kyle Tucker at the plate, 2-2 count, and he gets a sinker up in the zone, and he crushes a bomb to right, a 2-run shot. That pulls the Cubs within 1, makes it a 10-9 game. And then a couple batters later, they go to Kirby Yates to face Kelly with the runner on first, and Kelly walks. Kirby Yates walked him, and then a couple batters later, you got a runner on second after Birdie stole second, and it was a great pitch right there. Kirby Yates goes with a 4-seam fastball. He strikes him out. That gets him out of the inning. A lot of emotion there by Kirby Yates, who gave the walk-off home run on the past Saturday to Adolis Garcia. So the Dodgers, they get out of that. They give the 2 runs on the 2 hits, the Kyle Tucker 2-run shot, and they are grasping, clinging onto a 1-run game. And then bottom of the 9th inning, the Dodgers' $72 million closer, Tanner Scott, he gets the first out, and then he gets Crow Armstrong to fly to right. And if you look at the way he reacted to that fly out, it almost looked like he was not as confident in his stuff, almost like he thought that one was going to go out, but you had the wind blowing in right. And I think you got to take that information in real time and allow it to impact your future pitches. And you look at the very next batter he faced, he gets ahead in the count. Amaya takes a strike looking on the outer half, mind you, and the second pitch of the at-bat, they go with a 4-seam fastball. Will Smith wants it up and in, and that thing was right down Broadway. And Amaya, he crushed it 388 feet to center, and that tied things at 10.
Amaya into center field. Edmonds back at the wall. Jumps up. It's into the basket.
So it's frustrating just because, I mean, like I said, you've got the wind blowing in it right. If they're going to hit a home run, make sure that they're going with the pitch, that it's an opposite field home run. You don't want to give them anything that they can drive, anything they can pull, anything in their nitro zone. And yes, it wasn't a well-executed pitch, but I think the sequencing there in general is something that you have to call into question, because that is where Amaya wants it. That's where he thinks he can drive it. And the odds of him hitting a home run when he's swinging at a pitch on the outer half are less likely. So that tied things at 10. And just like that, the Dodgers heading into extra innings, top of the 10th, not much doing for the Dodgers. I mean, Smith grounded to first, and Edman was able to get to third with 1 out. So all you're trying to do is get at the very least a run there. But then this is where this high strikeout rate really comes into play. You just need to make contact. You need to put the ball in play. And Max Muncy, he strikes out swinging at a sweeper down and in for the second out. And that's where the concern is for me. Max Muncy has been a lot better at the plate lately when it comes to drawing his walks, but the strikeout rate is at 35.7% on the season. 35.7%. throughout his career, he's never been in the 30s. The highest he's ever had was 27.2%, but that was when he had 35 home runs in 2018. You'll live with the high strikeout rate if the home runs come with it, but he's now gone 84 plate appearances on the year without hitting one out. That's the longest home run drought of Max Muncy's career. The previous high was 79 plate appearances without hitting a dinger, and now he's hitting 181. He's at 60 weighted runs created plus, no home runs on the season, does have 5 doubles. But that gave the Cubs a very much needed, a desperately needed second out. And Michael Conforto at the plate, who was pinch hitting for Kike Hernandez, he falls behind the count 0-2. Then on the third pitch, he grounds to first to end the inning. So the Dodgers can't manufacture a run with Tommy Edman at third with 1 out. And then bottom of the 10th inning, Noah Davis comes in to make his Dodgers debut. Very first pitch, he throws a screwball, and like a lot of the Dodgers pitches on the night, it did not do very much. It did not screw anything on the batter because he hits an easy single, and it goes as a walk-off hit. So that is how things ended. The big takeaway from tonight, I really think it has to start with Tanner Scott, because Dustin May did not have a good outing. He just did not have his best stuff. But he's your 5th starter in your rotation. He's your 5th starter in your rotation. We know what Dustin May has the talent for. We know what he can look like when he's at his very best. But he had an off night. He had a clunker. But the Dodgers still were able to take a lead. And you did have some gutsy performances from Luis Garcia and Kirby Yates. Alex Vesey didn't have his best night. Andy Bonda didn't have his best night, but he was bailed out by Andy Pages. But with Tanner Scott, you're hoping for elite production. And it's still really early, and I have a lot of confidence that he's going to turn things around for sure. He had a lot more success of late, but we haven't seen elite from Tanner Scott. We just have not. But, I mean, he's got a 2.77 ERA. The expected stuff is pretty solid, but the strikeouts are down, and he's not missing as many bats. And tonight, he gave the home run and just missed on location. So it's concerning. I would say my concern level for Tanner Scott definitely is increasing. You want to see a better version of him on a nightly, daily basis, but tonight just was his night. And I think that for him, he's got to just trust his stuff in the zone. Like that's what made him great, right? Someone that guy can go out there and dominate. Some guy that has a high strikeout rate. Someone that goes out there and challenges hitters. Tonight, it just didn't seem like he kind of had that FU stuff that we've seen from him his entire career. And he hasn't missed a ton of barrels. The hard hit percentage hasn't been good. He's not walking guys, which is great. He's getting chased, which is great. But you definitely want to see just a better version of Tanner Scott. I mean, you make a guy one of the highest paid relievers in the sport, and you hear all the talk about, oh, you shouldn't go out there and pay a reliever. You shouldn't go out there and bring in a guy like Tanner Scott. Well, Andrew Freeman went out there. He paid Tanner Scott, and he's had mixed results so far. And then Blake Treinen, who you pay, he's on the injured list. So I do think it's a long season, and there's obviously plenty of time for him to get right. But you just haven't gotten the results that you had hoped for from Tanner Scott so far. But let me know down below in the comment section. Now I want all your takes. Welcome to the Dodgers Nation post-game show. Number one Dodgers post-game show in the game. And just what was your reaction to tonight, man? It just did not look good. It did not look good for the pitching tonight. The offense, I think that's definitely another major pro, is the offense exploded. I mean, you got 3 home runs tonight, and I think it really speaks to the depth of that Dodgers team, that Mookie and Shohei didn't really have big nights. You were still able to have double-digit runs. But let's read all of your comments here. I'm looking for the comments of the show, looking for those fire takes. What do we got here? Let's start us off down below. We got Nando. Tanner Scott got the bag and started sucking. Look, I still think that he's going to be fine. I still think you're going to get a high-leverage arm when it matters most. But, yeah, I mean, look, heading into the start, he did have a 2.25 ERA and 8 saves So it's not like he'd been terrible. It's not like he was Joe Kelly in 2018. And I love me some Joe Kelly, but for the most part, the majority of his career, he really struggled with the Dodgers, right? But Tanner Scott definitely was having some success, just to varying degrees. And the thing about Tanner Scott I want to point out, too, is he had really kind of gotten into a groove of late where you were starting to see him work towards being the guy that they thought they had. I mean, you look at in April heading into tonight, 8 innings, no runs. And I think the only thing you want to see more of is more strikeouts. So I still believe in Tanner Scott. I still think it made sense to go out there and get him because you want a dominant reliever in the postseason. He definitely certainly still has that in his bag. So, I mean, like I said, he had just made a lot of appearances. I mean, the last time he hadn't allowed a run since he gave up a home run against the Braves, and that was all the way back a couple weeks back when he gave up that home run there to Michael Harris against the Braves. And it had been a good amount of time. So, guys, they're not going to have 0.00 ERA, but you definitely want to get a better pitch execution, the better sequence there. We kind of talked about it already, but I think that you have to make it where they have to earn it. A home run ties the game there. If you get to a single, you work your way around it. Work to see the next guy. If they're able to string a couple hits together, you'll live with that. You just don't want to give them hittable pitches up in their nitro zone where they can capitalize on that. That's the last thing you do want to do. But the last thing I want to hear here is just the irrational, Tanner Scott is bad or anything like that. Yes, his peripherals haven't been elite, but like I said, it had been 8 appearances since he had given up a run. Hasn't looked dominant, but a 0 ERA in his last 8 appearances. I think the freak out is on the freak out meter. I think it doesn't need to be that way. I mean, but here we go. Let's go down below. We got Baby Steps D-Back. What is up? Father of Time is knocking on Dodgers doors, and he's kicking it down. Jose Aguirre, Noah Davis shouldn't have pitched at all and wouldn't have if Tanner didn't blow it. Yeah, I mean, look, they were in a tough spot just because they have a bullpen game tomorrow. So that is definitely a point of concern when your starter was out there, and give Dustin May credit. I mean, after giving up 5 runs in the first, he was able to go out there and give them 5 innings, and the Dodgers were able to get a lead and put themselves in a position to win this game. So you got to give them credit for that. But, yeah, I mean, it's a tough spot for Noah Davis. You have to say it's a tough spot, an unenviable spot, going against really the best offense that we've seen so far early on this season, and an explosive one in the Chicago Cubs. So that's definitely kind of the big takeaway there is that, sometimes your offense is really good. Sometimes your pitching is really good. Today, the pitching was bad, and the offense stepped up, and then the pitching just did not do enough, and it let them down, save for a couple of guys tonight. We got too many holes at the bottom of the lineup. That is from Kurz, Dr. V. Rushing and Kim need to come up. Muncy and Rojas out. Neil Kasamoto, Scott throwing middle show. He's not a closer. We got J-Kid 323. You could tell how the difference with how San Diego coached Tanner Scott, his away fastball slider down away. It seems with the Dodgers, all they call is fastballs. I mean, that's interesting, but I mean, he is throwing 60% fastballs, 40% sliders. I think it's more of counts and when they're going to those pitches. And the truth is, his mix as far as the fastball to slider ratio is nearly identical with the Dodgers this year than it was with the Padres last season. But the difference is his four-seam fastball hasn't been as effective with the Dodgers as it was with the Padres. With the Padres, opponents were hitting 134 off of his heater. This year, opponents are hitting close to 300 off of his fastball, and the velocity is down from 97 miles per hour to heading into this start. He was averaging 95.7 on his fastball. So that's kind of where he's at with that. And if you look at where his fastball ended up tonight, as a whole, he ends up averaging on the fastball. He actually did it tonight, actually. That's the positive. So let's bring our facts to the fight here. The positive on Tanner Scott, and this is why I feel, look, I know you guys are freaking out. I don't think the sky is falling on Tanner Scott. I saw people on social media really freaking out about Tanner Scott. And look, anytime you sign a contract like that and you're a reliever, there's going to be pressure and people are going to wait to jump on you and point like, oh, I said it was going to be a bad signing. You should invest in a reliever. So I got my confirmation bias. I'm going to jump on that. I get all that. But the fastball, he topped out at 98.1 miles per hour tonight, and he averaged 97.3. So his fastball velocity was up 1.6 miles per hour. So tonight actually was the most his fastball really had looked like the Tanner Scott fastball that we've seen from him throughout his career. So if you do want to spin a little positive there, there's that. So, yeah, it was a bad loss, though, for sure. It definitely, and to me, Andy Pages, definitely a Mitch Lotta half full take. He definitely had a good night with a home run and a single. Will Smith continues to hit. Tommy Edman continues to hit. And, you know what? Before we get into more comments, step in the box a little bit and take a look at this box score right here. You see a box score for the Dodgers that kind of makes you think, well, if this was how it looked, then you have to think, okay, well, how many hits did Shohei get? How many hits did Mookie Betts get? Well, you look at this box score here, you'll see that Shohei Ohtani went 0 for 4 and struck out 3 times and drew a walk. His batting average sitting at .264 right now. Mookie Betts goes 0 for 4. So you have Ohtani and Betts, the Dodgers' 2 best players overall. I would argue that Freddie is just as good as Mookie, if not better in certain spots as a pure hitter, for sure. But the fact that those 2 guys go 0 for 4 and you can still score double-digit runs, that does speak to what this offense is capable of. And then Teoscar Hernandez, he goes 2 for 5, had the RBI, also put the ball in play in a key situation that led to the error by Workman that led to a run there in the 7th inning. And then Freeman, he goes 1 for 5, had the big go-ahead RBI double. So the 2 ribbies there. He really has been the Dodgers' best offensive player so far. It just he's missed a lot of time. But there's no doubt about it. He has been the Dodgers' best offensive player, top to bottom. And then Tommy Edman continues to hit. He had the 3-run shot, his 8th home run of the year. He leads the team. He goes 2 for 4, had 4 RBIs tonight, hit the bomb, had the sac fly late. Will Smith, he goes 2 for 4, had the home run, also drew a walk. He's in .350. The thing about Will Smith is just he's not even qualifying for stats, really, just because he's not playing every single day. So hopefully you'll just get a better, sustainable version of Will Smith that is at his best and is not getting dinged up throughout the year. Then Max Muncy, he goes 0 for 4, 2 strikeouts for Muncy, batting average down to 181. Kike Hernandez goes 0 for 4, hitting 130 now. Michael Conforto, he pinch hit for Kike. Not a good night for Michael Conforto. He goes 0 for 1. Chris Taylor, he was used late. And then Andy Pages, he goes 2 for 4. I think I have to give a player of the game. I'm going Andy Pages. He had the big defensive play, gets the big throw out at the plate. And then you also get the home run and the single that sparked the big inning in the 7th. So, yeah, Andy Pages, he's the player of the game, the Dodgers' dog of the game. He goes 2 for 4. But the Dodgers, 9 hits tonight, 10 strikeouts. And, that's a step into the box right there. But, yeah, as a whole, really, if you look at the guys that are struggling, you hope that Max Muncy is ready to break out. You hope that this offense is ready to break out. We got, calling Max Mendoza. That's messed up from 818. Jeremy Buckley, Bond, James Bond, monthly 00 for the year. Javier Mora, Pages still should be demoted. Javier Mora, you're kind of getting the Andy Pages experience right here. And if you look at the home run that he hit, the promising thing is that it's against a lefty. And that has been the biggest difference for Andy Pages this season. Is last year when he struggled, he still had a .917 OPS versus lefties. That was the second highest on the team last season, behind only Teoscar Hernandez. So kind of the thought for Andy Pages was, okay, let's have a lefty masher as kind of his floor. but he just had not been that heading into today's game. And heading into today's game, he was hitting 87 against lefties with a 679 OPS, just 2 hits and 23 at-bats, and no extra base hits. So the fact that he got a big home run against a lefty, I find that encouraging. And you look at Andy Pages' numbers overall, and they're really not awful when you look at he's at an 80 weighted runs created plus, 20% below league average. So he's put up better numbers than Chris Taylor. He's put up better numbers than Max Muncy, put up better numbers than Kike Hernandez, better numbers than Miguel Rojas. So I know everyone wants to focus on Andy Pages, and I'm not saying that I'm just team Pages and, okay, let me get him for the rest of the season. I want to give him 600 plate appearances. I'm not, but I am trusting the process, and I do want to see what he looks like through 100 to 150 at-bats. And if he struggles to that point, then I can safely say, okay, I've seen enough, but I won't have that regret in saying, okay, we demoted him right before he was going to pop. Because it takes a while. You talk to scouts, you talk to players, you have to see big league pitching, and you got to give guys the opportunity to make adjustments. And that is the stage that Andy Pages is in. But yeah, if the numbers don't improve, I already said it on the show yesterday, I'll give you the Freddie bobblehead, I'll give you the Ohtani bobblehead, I'll give you the Murakami Flower New Era hat. I'll give you whatever you guys want me to give you. Here, I'll give you a Dodgers World Series hat. If they go 150 plate appearances and he's put up the same numbers as he has now and they don't look at alternatives, I'd be shocked. I don't think that's going to happen. So I think the big takeaway tonight, though, is he belongs in the corner outfield spot. He really, really belongs in the corner outfield because he's got the arm. He has enough range to get it done there. And it just kind of makes you wonder. I mean, you look at the Conforto signing, and it's still early. You look at kind of the outfield picture, and they kind of ran it back. But we'll see what they do. Crash says Enrique got glasses last season. Can we get him a Sing Eye Dog now? Oh, come on, Crash. That's a bruh. We got Nando 390, 17 city ships. Slam Diego has no rings. Yeah. Slam Diego, no rings. Body Slam Diego. Yeah, they are the Padres in here talking smack? Okay. Mr. Classic, Bobby Miller got the win today at OKC. That's good news. Happy for Bobby Miller. Nick says 100 ABs is the metric for success. John Chen, MLB higher-ups want Skeens to be the face of Major League Baseball, so Yama would need to be out of this world to claim Cy Young over Skeens. Yeah, absolutely. But, I mean, if Yamamoto's putting up the numbers, like baseball, I think does a lot better job in choosing their winners than the NBA. I mean, the NBA is going to give Shai Gilgeous-Alexander the MVP, despite Joker having better stats, better advanced stats in almost every single category, and being objectively more valuable to his team's success. I think Major League Baseball, they take into account who the actual best pitchers and best players are based on a combination of advanced data and eye test. So Yamamoto can definitely earn his Cy Young. He can definitely earn his Cy Young, but I think that how he pitches on Friday is going to help springboard a Cy Young campaign for Yamamoto. Because if he outduels him after outdueling Jacob deGrom, I think that that's only going to help his case because the Pirates are stinky. They stink. They're a terrible franchise. Bob Nutting is a joke of an owner. So you're in a bad. I mean, did you hear Paul Skeens the other day? He has bobblehead night, and they try to hit him with some nice softball questions like, did you see the line outside for your bobblehead? What'd you think of your bobblehead? And he was just like, no, it's not my thing. I don't really care. Who cares? I don't care. He couldn't have cared any less. He's miserable in Pittsburgh. Let's get him to L.A., future Dodger, Paul Skeens. So a couple more comments here, guys. But the Dodgers, you lose to the Cubs. Big takeaways on this one. Worst start of the season for Dustin May. Didn't have the sweeper, didn't have the fastball command, had given up 2 runs all season, gave up 5 runs alone. Gave up 5 runs alone in that bottom of the first inning. All starters are going to have clunkers occasionally. but it just was not a great start. It was the worst start of the year for Dustin May. He gave up 7 runs on 10 hits, 5 strikeouts, 3 walks, gave up the home run, 5 innings of work. Second big takeaway is I think this team as a whole, you kind of look at the offense. It was good to see them score 10 runs, but they still went 3 for 14 with runners in scoring position. Max Muncy had big opportunities. He goes 0-3, 0 for 3 with runners in scoring position. And this has been the worst start of his career. And yes, he has been taking his walks, but the production has been very, very low for Max Muncy. Same with Kike Hernandez. And this offense, they did get a pick-me-up from Andy Pages, but outside of that, the bottom of the lineup still has been a black hole all season. And you had Muncy and Kike and Conforto. They combined to go 0-for-9 on the night. So if Pages doesn't have a big night, I mean, we could be talking about 0-for-13 from the bottom of your order, and then you combine that with Ohtani and Best not having their best. So I still think that another big takeaway is the bottom of the order still hasn't been consistent enough. You have not been doing a good enough job with runners in scoring position. And then the last thing really tonight for the big 3 takeaways is, yeah, I think I'm not worried big picture about Tanner Scott, but I do think that they kind of need to make sure that everything is right with him as far as pitch sequencing. I didn't like the location on that pitch, and that they're getting the best version of him. And I think that really starts with making sure from a game plan standpoint that they're kind of trusting his stuff. And I think in that situation, I mean, they want a fastball up and in. They go fastball out over the middle of the plate. But a wild game for the Dodgers. I think that it was just a wacky game because we were asking for offense from this team, and we did get offense. You scored 10 runs. And then it was the first really bad start that you got for a while, but then you were still able to get that lead. So, yeah, I think the bullpen at some point is going to need a little more consistency. Alex Vesia gives up the home run. And look, this is a team that the Dodgers could face in the postseason, even though they're kind of a frisky 15-10. But yeah, it's tough. I mean, anytime you got Noah Davis, you had Noah Davis out there. I mean, Noah Davis lost you the game, right? As far as giving up that hit, you're not going to see that. You're not going to see Noah Davis out there. So tomorrow you got a bullpen game. The Dodgers will try to salvage this split. It's the last time they play the Cubs all season long. And you're just kind of praying that guys can have and the offense can score a ton of runs, because this is definitely not how you want to set up a game that's going to be relying solely on bullpen dudes tomorrow. But, yeah, a couple more here. Gabby Gabe. We got Claudia Levin. The Dodgers look tired, low energy. They need to get it together. It's only April. Look, they have the second best record in the sport. So I'm going to hold on to that, knowing that Ohtani is not on all cylinders right now. Mookie's not firing all cylinders right now. Mookie, his offense has not looked anywhere near the Mookie that we've seen. I mean, we talked about a couple days ago, if you guys want to watch the breakdown of the offense and where they've been struggling of late. So they need to be better as a whole. Just a crazy loss, but it was a wild one. And we're going to be back tomorrow to break it all down. So join us for Dodgers Dugout Live tomorrow. If you didn't watch today's episode, I highly recommend going back and watching it for sure. Yeah, we'll talk some Arenado tomorrow if you guys want. We'll talk about that. Had Bill Shaken from the LA Times on the show talking about Dodger Stadium ticket prices and the Dodgers fan experience, and is it becoming less affordable, and are guys getting priced out? So we'll talk about families getting priced out and just kind of everything that's involved with that. It was a really interesting conversation. We talked about the 6-man rotation, so go back and watch that. But that is going to do it for this episode of Dodgers Dugout Live. Appreciate you, NS. Look, Mitch ought to have full. The sky's not falling with this team, but I think that there are some early season concerns based on players that you were hoping would be more productive than they've been. So we'll take a deeper dive into that tomorrow for sure. But that's new for this episode of Dodgers Dugout Live, or actually Dodgers Nation post-game show. By the way, tell me what you guys think about You guys like the new layout? We're going with the kind of the icy white. Got the big team photo right here. We got the white for the Dodgers Nation post-game show. Let me know what you guys think. And, subscribe to the channel, guys. We're doing giveaways all season long, so appreciate that. Join the Discord. Join the Big Lead. You guys are the best fans in the game. Thanks again for joining us here. Remember, nothing brings together quite like Dodger baseball. And until next time, think blue, bleed blue, and I'm out.